Hey, beautiful people of the world. Here we go. We're going to work on routing for our modal. So when you click on it, it'll now have the route /Sona. And as you can see, it also saves your scroll position. So click Karma right here, still in the same exact spot. And if I click Misfortune, and then if I refresh it, still goes right open to the modal. And let's get to that. I'm going to be going through the diff again. The left side is the modal code from the modal video, and on the right side is going to be the routing, all the routes and stuff that we're going to be creating. We'll be using two new libraries. One is called navigation, the other is url-parser, and they're both core for doing routes. All right, we'll go down to our model and we'll see some things have changed. So I no longer am using is modal open or champ selected. I have a route and location. And location is the type is a navigation.location, so that's just the type. And then our route type is a type that we created. So we'll go through that once we get down there. And in the init state, I'm first passing in the location, which is navigation.location, and then it'll return our model and command message. And so that's so we can get our just whatever our initial page is. So right here I set the route and I call from location, which is a function I have made, and it takes in a location and passes in a route. And we'll say that the default is the home route. So I have two routes here. I have a home and a modal. So that's our route type. And we're saying the default one is going to be home, and then we're going to say parse path, which is the URL parser method. So it takes in a URL parser, a navigation location, and then returns a maybe a. So we'll say parse path, and then we're passing the URL parser, which is a function that I've made up here. So URL parser dot one of, that just takes in a list of URL parsers. So we have multiple routes. So we map over each one. So we pass in our home and our modal, and this is all just on the documentation of URL parser. So right here's an example on their actual docs. So it takes in the route and then the actual path. And so I'm saying S and then empty strings because that's what our home is, and then URL parser string. We have to check our modal route because it's taking in a string, and so we just want / the champion name. So we say URL parser and then we pass in the location, and then we'll go through these two next functions later. So we go back up. So that gets our initial location on load. So on our state we'll say route is equal to route right here. And then our location is equal to our location that's being passed in from init. And then if you go down, I'll show you where you're getting passed in on the init on right here. So instead of saying html.program, we're now saying navigation.program, and then we pass in the location. So location change, which is a new message that I've created, and it just takes in a location. And so if we go to our location change in our update function, it takes in a location. And then right here, I'm saying in the let in block, I'm saying, all right, the new route is from location. So that function that I made from location, it just defaults to home or to a new route that we've created. And go back to our update function. And then gets passed in the location. So that's our new route. And then we update our model and state. So we say model, and then our route is equal to our new route, and then we set our location to the new location. And I've also created a new message called go to, and it takes in a route, which is our route type, which is either home or modal. And then in our update function, I say go to, takes in the new location, and then I call go to, which is a function that I've made, and he pass in the route. So if we go to our go to function, you can see it takes in a route and the same route type and returns a command A. And so we use our navigation library, say navigation.newURL, which takes in a string, and so I pass in to URL and then the route. And the to URL is another function I've made that takes in a route. So we see we're nested here. So to a URL route, and right here we just say we destructure the route, which is home or modal. And so home is going to be just / and then modal takes in a champ name, so /++ champ name. That way we can navigate, we can call go-to in our update function and navigate straight to, we can call go-to, our command that we've made up here in our view, and just pass in a route, and that way we can navigate to it easily. So you can easily just add more routes right here, and but for now we'll just use our home and our modal. So now we'll go to our view and see how we put these two things together. So I've split out the render champions into its own method. So it takes in champs and then it'll just display them. So that's our grid, all of this right here. The render champions is all this. So that renders that. And I split it out so that we can display them in both our routes. So the way we display our route is just do pattern match or destructure our routes. So we have our home and our modal. And in our home, we're going to check to see if we have the champions. So that we made the request and we've gotten back our data. And if we do, then we'll render our champions and then just pass in the champs. And in our modal, we're taking in a string, which is the champ name. And so in here, this is the same, the remove extension overlay, but inside here, it's going to be a little different because of the routes. So if we have our champions and we're on the modal route with the champ name, then we're going to have to decode the URL. So we'll use this method from the HTTP library called decode URI and then pass in the champ name, and that'll give us the decoded champ name and it's going to be a maybe though. So because that's what a decode URI returns. It returns a maybe string. And this champ name is getting passed in from the modal, from the route. So now that we have a decoded champ name, a maybe decoded champ name, we're going to have to check to see if we even have a champ with that name. So someone can't just go like /, So someone can't go /Josh and then be like, oh, you have to display an error, like, sorry, there's no champion or something. So that's why it's a maybe type. So now we have to go over it. So we create this new function called champ_m, and we get the first item in the list, so list.head, which will return a maybe A, and we filter all the champs right here. So we filter all our champs. It's getting passed in the champs right here on the back. And then we create this lambda anonymous function, and we get our champ, and then we say case decoded champ name M, so the maybe champ decoded. And if we do actually filter and find the champ name, we compare the decoded champ name to the lowercase champ name because it has the capital, and in the URL it doesn't. We just lowercase it all. And if there's no filter, then we'll return false. So now in our view, we can say case maybe champ of, and if we have a champ, then we'll just call our render champions in the background. So all this over here, and then we'll call our modal and display the champion. And if there is no champion, so all this is the same. I'm going to remove the diff. So all that should be the same. And if there is no champ, then we'll display, sorry, no champion. But that way we can go to /Sona and it'll load it up. Or we can click on it and it'll load it up. And the way we're doing the on click is because of that message we created, go to, and then it takes in the string or the route, and we're passing in the modal, and that's where we encode this champ name, which is why we have to decode it when we go to the actual route. And there we have it. We have routes on these champions. So now we can go LeBlanc, refresh it, and as you can see, it does go to the top on the scroll position, but that's as expected when you refresh. But if you're scrolling and you just click one, then you stay on the same spot. And now you have your routes for your modal.